is the current management of a clubfoot. You have just now heard Vinoti and Taral and giving such an angular deformity, such a detailed overview of the thing. In clubfoot, it has been much more simplified now. And the one thing that I want you to emphasize, and there is a very nice paper by Uncle, that the burden of this deformity in our country is much more than the Western world. This you must try to understand. And that too, when we also realize that because of our geographical situation, our economic status, our social way of life, many children do not come to the hospital for the treatment and they remain deformed all their life. Now when we talk of the current concept of the management of a clubfoot, and basically it is a idiopathic clubfoot. The 80% of the patients of the clubfoot are all idiopathic clubfoot. Rest 20% belongs to complicated or syndromic or a complex clubfoot for which you have the specialized type of a treatment. So our whole concentration will be how we are going to do about this. Now, if we talk about the current concept, there is no doubt as on today that the treatment is nothing but conservative, and conservative. That's in one line you can say this is the current concept where you do the manipulation using the Ponseti method and his philosophy. Your surgery has become very conservative. It's a very selective surgery. It is only when it is indicated in a particular case you want to do it, and of course there are few cases where you will need a semi-invasive method. At one time I thought it would be interesting to read the original paper written by Hiram Kite and another original paper written by Ignacio Ponseti at the difference of 20 years, both from USA. It's very interesting when you will read both the original articles that there are a lot of similarities what both spoke about. A lot of similarities. They both spoke the same thing. But it's not that. There are few dissimilarities also, and which is very open this thing about the fulcrum and about the supination and pronation and about the forefoot abduction, how the plaster should be cut, how the plaster should be brought hungry. There are few points on which they talked about and what should be the post-operative management. We all the orthopedic surgeons, even from my training period from 1966, we were taught to treat the patient by a kite method, and then we were conducting a special clubfoot clinic in All India Medical Institute when I was a registrar 1968 to 1970 under Dr. very famous Min Mehta, and we used to do a clubfoot clinic. And then we learned as we grew up that lots of patients would show relapse and the patient was not very happy, and that was the time when very soon we will realize that our consultant will say, oh, put up this case for a soft tissue release operation, post-operative release operation tomorrow in the list, and we'll do that. And with great pleasure we'll do these operations, and this we have been doing in hundreds of these such operations. We went on this thing. And then realized when the Ponseti work came that we realized that that method failed because of probably the poor understanding of the functional anatomy of the normal and the clubfoot. As the time passed away, we all are now doing a Ponseti method. Every one of us are now doing a Ponseti method. There is no doubt about it. This is the current method of treating the clubfoot. It's a milestone in the treatment and management of an idiopathic clubfoot. And what is important is that I do not know when a man is old, I do not know. A Ponseti could be working up to the age of 94, and people went there to see how he applied his plaster. I feel I am still very young and I must continue. Though some people want, sir, you know, get out of this orthopedic field. But I think I say, well, Ponseti left the world at the age of 94. I can still go on for another 10, 12 years. That's not the issue. We must understand that it is a food which is just not one deformity. There are there's a cavers, there's a adduction, there's a varus, there's a equinus, and you just can't say I'm going to correct the forefoot adduction. What will happen to the other deformity? You have to think the whole foot in totality. Keep the equinus component separate, and rest of the part is the cavers, forefoot adduction, and the varus, which you have to keep it in mind while trying to correct it. When this Ponseti method came, we started, I think 2001, we started doing it in my medical college, and I was not very happy whether I was doing it rightly or wrongly. I said, let us learn it from the master. And the Markunde came to India. I went to him and I said, you must teach me how a Ponseti method is done. And he was very happy to do so. And he presented me with this model. And he said the best way to learn how to do a correct Ponseti method is to learn it on a model. And this model was presented to me by him. And I'm not going to talk in detail about what the Ponseti method is. You know that 4 different steps of how to correct the cavers, then how to find out the fulcrum, and against that fulcrum, how do you gradually correct the forefoot adduction, maintaining the supination, till you have achieved about 60 to 70 degrees of abduction of the forefoot. And in doing so, it is the calcaneum which gets unlocked under the talus, and that is the time when you can think of correcting the equinus deformity. That's a very important and fundamental thing in whole management of a club foot. If you're trying to do little hasten up the whole process of correcting the foot, you'll end up into a very difficult situation, and that is a rocker bottom foot, which is a very difficult things to do it. And if you go and read the literature, there are many papers who talk about this complication of a rocker bottom foot. So if you look into the whole concept of treatment of a club foot, it has come the whole circle. And I can vouch for this thing. I am a part of the whole this circle. We used to apply a lot of kite plaster, and then we started doing a lot of soft tissue surgery, posterior release, Brockman procedure, Turco, whatever you make up. And then in 1975 or 1976, I was attending a British Orthopedic Association symposium on the treatment of a clubfoot in Newcastle upon Tyne. And there was a symposium on clubfoot, and the people were talking about the treatment of the clubfoot is surgery as early possible, as early. Then I realized, I am doing all things wrong. So I came back very over enthusiastic and started doing surgery very early. And I was not very happy. It was not easy to do surgery in a very small case. And then one day I read an article by George Simon, who talked about the complete subtalar release operation by Cincinnati Pro. I was very over enthusiastic about it. So this is the operation. That was not the wrong. Posterior was not the operation. The early surgery, this is the operation which we should. And I started enjoying doing the George Simon procedures. Later on, one day I heard Dr. Tarparwala, Ashok Woods, beer, he was a great man, very good teacher. One day he came and gave a talk on the complete subtalar. I said, sir, he said, I don't like this operation. It has a lot of problems. Then I started realizing probably he was telling right. And gradually then we decided that probably one should be choosy what surgery you are doing it. And then came the Ponseti. So all surgery disappeared, and the only thing which was left was the Ponseti technique, and that is what exactly it is. So this is how the Ponseti technique, when you compare to the kite method, became a very popular method because of very high success rate and low relapse cases. It's not that there is no relapse in the Ponseti technique. There are lots of many papers where they have shown a relapse, about which we can talk a little later. This type of situation you can be arranged. And you can see that this is a very beautiful line written by the poet. It's a very simple thing that I ask the people that that's not the fulcrum, your fulcrum should be read to part of the head of the terrain. Now everybody is doing it. But for a person like Ponseti, it was so difficult to convince the people of that time, because people, you work with certain rigid thinking and rigid mind, and this is probably the right, and how can I change it? It's very difficult to change from one place to other if you have been doing it for a very long time. No, it has been proved beyond doubt that this method, positive method, is a very easy method if you understand it carefully. It's a very, very effective method, there's no doubt about it, and it's a very efficient method, it's a very economical method, and it's accurate. And one of the things which I really greatly appreciate, the parents are very, very happy with your method of treatment, because within a 1 to 2 months time the child's feet is absolutely corrected. It's an agony and ecstasy. Agony for the mother when the child was born with a club foot. It's a great agony to the mother. And as soon as the child's feet are straight and the child's feet is in the abduction brain, that's an ecstasy for the mother, and the mother is extremely happy with that. And this is a very beautiful line, and I think we must try to appreciate. This is the gist what the concept is saying, that a well-conducted orthopedic treatment, it is based on a sound understanding of the functional anatomy of the foot and on the biological response of a young connective tissue and bone to changes in direction of the mechanical stimuli, can gradually reduce or almost eliminate these deformities in most of the clusters. This is the gist, and his work, Ponseti's work, and his निचोड़ है उनकी पूरी रिसर्च का जो उन्होंने कहा इस किताब के अंदर, the Ponseti what he said. So it's not that we were taught to be told that the Ponseti works only in children, as you was start doing it. Then later on, one day I heard the lecture by Julian from Philippines, and she said, I'm doing it for 7 years old children. I said, what are you doing it? She showed me the result. Then I talked to Ashok was also doing it. I talked to Henry was also doing it. Then Shana was doing it, and they taught, then I read in a few articles. And I found that this technique, when done nicely, it also works in an older children. If you find that your child feet are not getting corrected, the stretching part itself is very helpful when you are embarking upon doing a surgery, because your surgery will be minimized and you will have a far better result than what you will do it if you embark upon the surgery immediately. So this is what we have been doing it. But there are many factors which prognosticate the results of your Ponseti method. And I think one of the most important, every foot has got its own way of presentation, whether it's how stiff it is, whether it is got some other problem with this thing, what is the Pirani score. So the type of the foot that has come to you, you have to decide how many plasters you will take, whether it is a syndromic or there is some other problem. It could be some neurological problem, orthographic or myelomeningocele. Or sometimes the patient comes to you who have undergone a surgery, and then they come to you and you have to decide what I am planning to do in these cases. It's not that you can't get an adverse effect also doing a positive technique. Every method of treatment has got its pros and cons on this thing. You can, or in just people, you can get an old correction, the feet remain incompletely undercorrected, and the relapse has been reported from 26 to 42%. Even there is a very beautiful article by Lavege and Ponseti in which they have 10 years to 24 years follow-up, in which out of the 104 years in 48 patients they found there was some relapse, and they did a tibialis anterior transfer in this patient. So because in our country especially, sometimes the plaster is applied by the senior-most surgeon, sometimes by the registrar, and sometimes by the junior-most person. And there is always a variation, and you do not know how much correction has been done. In my hospital, where now I work, where we are running a clubfoot clinic, I only if I got a child of club foot myself, only myself apply a concentric plaster and only my assistant will watch. We keep in a record of how many plaster we have applied, and my sisters and my OT staff are very eagerly waiting, because I promised them that the day I will complete 1,000 concentric plaster, I'll give them a dinner. So they say it is 997, sir, 3 cases more, and we've taken a dinner. So then you know what I'm doing it, and you exactly know that what mistake you are doing it, and that's actually very important. The recurrence of equinus and a dynamic forefoot supination is one of the earliest signs of a relapse. Be very careful. If you get a residual equinus, even after doing a tenotomy, well, it is an indication for doing a proper surgery. And why one gets an adverse result in such an established, well documented, based on a very sound knowledge of anatomy, it is because you are trying to convert the kite people to a concentric people. So they just cannot, and they mix the kite and the concentric. So they will do a concentric method and apply a below knee plaster, or they will they have no much idea what they are doing, pronating or supinating it, and all these things create, and they are in a hurry to do the correction of the equinus and using the forefoot, causing a rocker-button deformity. All these things, and not doing a proper tenotomy, they think it's a very small operation and anybody can do it. One should learn it, how exactly you have to do the tenotomy, and sometimes not doing a proper padding, no proper care for the fulcrum, taking out the cast at home, but the mothers will take it out, and improper use of the brace, about which the concept has talked so much. We all believe that, and this is what is the cause of this thing. So if you look into this thing, the most of the relapse takes place in first 3 to 4 years, because there is an abundance of the collagen tissue which are being formed, and only after the 5 years that you can get some late relapses. And if you do so, there is no need to jump over on doing a surgery. Try to do the remanipulation, and you can do a tibialis anterior transfer to the third cuneiform, which will give you very satisfactory result. Now a new current concept has come, and that is, sir, it is an accelerated concept. I say, well, Ponseti in his own article has written that you should not be doing it before 7 days, because the new collagens get formed only after 5 days. So why you have already stretched those collagens? Now new collagens will have to be stretched only after 5 days. So I do not know. So again, there is a controversy on that. Some people are doing it twice a week. Some people are doing thrice a week. Probably somebody will say do it daily, and some people are doing 5 days a week. But we should read the articles which has come up from both from India and from abroad. Even the Marconde has written an article. There are the papers from the Egypt, there are papers from Great Britain, and when I went through those papers, and Allah has written a paper, they say the correction time is reduced. Obviously, when you are doing it every day or second day, the correction time is reduced. They say result is very comparable with the traditional concept. I do not know, because you have to do their long-term follow-up, what you are going to say, and it is of course safe and effective. So the new current concept is accelerated constitutive recursion. The French method of the mass and pencil, we are not doing it, where they have been doing the daily manipulation, and they have been doing the strapping. They even found it out the CPM for these small children, but none of these methods we are doing it. Some people do it. Abduction splint is of course a very important thing, about which children Steinbeck, Eric had arranged a very good lecture by Steinbeck in Hyderabad conference meeting. I heard that, and but still I am not very happy with the braces that we get here. The heel is coming out and we're not being able to hold it, and we are trying to improve on this thing. But it is the important thing to prevent the relapse, and this thing we all know how use it to be done. And then question comes when the child has come to the walking age. So you actually reduce the abduction, this thing, tried to put him into the walking shoe, and we were using at one time our own design shoe, which we have now given it up. And you can see the small cut at the posterior side, and that idea was that probably the heel must be touching the sole of the foot. For this we even used the ankle strap, which you can see here. Later on we gave it up. Then we tried to had designed pronator shoes. Now we give it up. And if I am satisfied with my correction that I got one foot is plantigrade and nice and supple, I'll probably allow him to go into the normal leather shoes, and the child is very happy. The surgery, I still now feel that the standard posterior medial operation is a standard with this thing, and you can have the longitudinal incision or the Cincinnati incision, but I have very much cut down this complete subtalar release operation and partial subtalar release operation. The operation which I used to do at one stage very extensively, and I used to enjoy doing it. I know hardly for many years I have not done this operation, but one thing I definitely learned was that when a child comes to your mother with this thing, every child is an individual club. Study it, understand it, do the counseling, and then you do this thing, God will be with you, and you'll get it. This thing, and this is when you get a relapse, you can do a tender eclipse, this thing. And of course, we cannot be less gratitude to our Dr. B.B. Joshi, who talked about the JESS method. And there are children who are very resistant, very stiff children, like orthographic children. And we have been, boys have done thesis on the JESS method in these type of cases. And I tell you, you can sometimes do really good results, like this child who had about 10 years follow-up, who was treated by clubfoot. And even this clubfoot, one of the students was doing it. He loaded it within a spring loading, made it and wrote it out an article in the Journal of Ankle and Foot. And this is what the spring distractors were added to this thing. So surgery at what age? So tenotomy, we do 1/4 or 5th plaster, we do it, and surgery only at about 5 to 6 months time. JESS at about 3 to 5 years. These are all 5 years plus, and body operation is still later, and orthodontics is only at 12 to 13 years. Because the final goal of the treatment is to get a corrected foot. Must be fully mobile, developing normally and be capable of painless, unrestricted use. What we need is normally functioning foot. Cosmetic acceptability is a different thing. So if my child is with a small deformity, is playing a football, running around, doing everything, I'll be more than happy with that this thing. Overcorrection do happen, you have to do with the osteotomy, and problem comes when you have a neglected clubfoot, to do or not to do it. Very big question. Try to restrain yourself sometimes, and doing it for the cosmetic correction can give a proprioception problem, and they cannot walk properly, and they need all bony operation, and you can straighten these feet, but make sure they develop their proprioception and walk properly. Some of our patients now, we have in a POSICON that we had in Bombay only a couple of months back, we presented our long-term follow-up of minimum 8 years. Now we have a patient showing 6 years, 7 years follow-up, 8 years follow-up, and like this thing. And when we try to look into a foot on a long-term result, we found the people who were being treated by manipulation and casting, they gave us a good foot, strong, supple, and pain-free. And the people who were operated, they were not bad too, and they had slight stiffness, and they had mild pain, occasional pain. So if you look into the yesterday and today, that today we are very clear about the etiology of clubfoot. We are very clear and better understand the pathanatomy. Our kinematics are very clear in our mind, and our manipulative technique by the Monsetti is far better understood. Now we are doing only very minimal surgery and doing a chest, and we have got a much lower recurrence rate, and we have got a far better brace than what we used to have it. So this is what we had yesterday and what we have in today. And this is a Robin, is one of the earliest patients. He must be now around 24, 25 years. I operated it by surgery. This again I operated by his brother. Both of them are doing very well. They play football, they play tennis, and both were treated by surgery, both posterior release surgery. And therefore I say this, as the statement is, the surgery makes the foot stiff and painful. Sometimes I put a question mark. Is it so? And I said that indicated surgery, when well done, is quite rewarding. It's not that bad thing. And these are the two brothers, Robin and Jubin, and I'm trying to get now the latest photograph from them, and I hope they are very happy, and the surgeon is happy to see their children grow up, who were brought to you immediately after birth, and they try to be, they come and say, thank you doctor, we are playing our football. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.